My name is Andrew Chappell. I was born in 1956 in Porthtowan. Well, that's just a little coastal village not far from Redruth. I was sent to Sunday school by my parents. That was very common in our day. But I can never remember anyone ever saying to me, "You need to trust Jesus Christ as your own Saviour and Lord." I do remember praying when I was about 7 years of age, one Christmas Eve, when all the atmosphere of Christmas touched my heart. And as a young child, I can remember praying to God that I might know God, but I wasn't sure what I meant. Well, I went to Redruth Grammar School, and because I failed my geography O-level, one of the only A-level subjects I could take was religious knowledge. I'd actually done that at O-level and got a very good result. So I decided to be in a class of only 2 people with the teacher. Well, this gave us plenty of time to discuss things and try and understand more about what Christianity and religion is all about. Well, I had to read the Bible to pass my exams. But the thing that really struck me was Jesus really existed. I saw in Roman historians' writings that Jesus was a real person. Well, this made me really think about, if Jesus is a real historical person who really lived and taught the things he taught, well, doesn't that have an impact upon my life then? Shouldn't I be interested? Shouldn't I think about what he said? And I began to come across people, even at school, who said they became Christians. I remember a boy called Jeremy who became a Christian in the Christian Union meeting, which I attended by invitation, and he then changed so much. I thought to myself, there's something in this. Amazingly, Jeremy, myself, and 2 other lads from Redruth Grammar School all went to the same teacher training college, Newton Park, near Bath. And I began to meet some more Christians. And in the end, Jeremy invited me to go to church. I decided I would go to church with him. Now, this was a Brethren assembly in Manvers Hall in Bath. And I went along some Sunday nights, and I began to hear preaching and talking about Jesus that I'd never remember hearing when I was a young person. It really began to touch me and affect me. One day I said to Jeremy, I'd really like to come to church with you in the morning. And he said, "I'm sorry, Andrew, but you won't be able to come in the morning because in the morning we have communion. And you're not a Christian, so you mustn't take breaking of bread." So I said to myself, what's he mean? I thought I was a Christian. Then another Christian spoke to me about personal faith, and it was all beginning to make sense. Around the same time, I was going out with somebody in the college, my first real girlfriend, but she already had a boyfriend where she came from in Runcorn in Cheshire. And I was amazingly upset when she dumped me, and I felt really sorry for myself. And I withdrew into myself, and I was a miserable person for about 2 days. And I was thinking about myself and how weak I was, and why wasn't I good enough to be her boyfriend. I felt very sorry for myself, full of self-pity. Somebody said, "Please come to this Christian meeting." So I gave in eventually after saying no, and I went to a special meeting in Bath Pavilion where a man called Dick Saunders was going to preach. There were hundreds of people in this meeting, and they all seemed incredibly happy to me. They were all singing songs very happily. They were very joyful. They even clapped in some of the songs. I wasn't used to this kind of enthusiasm at all. He began to speak, and when he spoke about something I'd never heard of ever before, which was the fact that Jesus said he would come back to this earth. I didn't even know he was going to come back to this earth. And as Mr. Saunders preached and spoke about Jesus being the way, the truth and the life, no one comes to the Father except through him, it really had an impact upon me. At the end of this service, as was common in those days, they would say something like, "Please come to the front if you want to know more about being a Christian." Well, I wanted to do that. And when he gave the appeal, as they call it, I was one of the first people to move out of my seat. And I was reasonably near the back of the pavilion, so I walked quite a long way to get to the front. As I walked to the front, I can still recall that this great weight went off my back, as if all the guilt and all the sin and all the bad things I'd thought and done were being taken away from me because I was trusting Jesus Christ. By the time I got to the front, I think I was a real Christian. Actually, a man said to me, You need to speak to me and I need to speak to you. He was Polish. He could only speak in broken English. And I said, you don't need to tell anything to me. Just tell me how to be a Christian. And that moment, I believe, was when I made a public profession of my faith in a person I knew was historical, but was much more than a historical person. He's the saviour of the whole world. I wonder if you know him personally. Look, if you're interested in what I've been talking about, why don't you listen to the next part of my story? It's all very well being converted, but you've got to live the Christian life, haven't you, if you're a real Christian? So I'd like you to listen to the next part. Thank you very much.